In the dense fog of the early morning, a figure moved silently through the dilapidated streets of Illyria. This was Dr. Elara Miles, known in her circles as one of the last human medics who dared to practice in the contested zones where the Tyrant King's rule was most oppressive. The ruins of the city whispered tales of a once thriving metropolis, now a shadow of its former self, scarred by the ongoing rebellion against the king's ruthless regime. Elara clutched her medical bag tightly as she navigated through the back alleys, avoiding the main roads patrolled by the king's drones. Her destination was an inconspicuous safe house that served as a temporary haven for wounded rebels. As she approached the worn-down door marked only by a small red cross painted discreetly at its corner, a soft signal, a trio of quick knocks followed by 2 slow ones, announced her arrival. Inside, the air was thick with antiseptic and the harsh reality of war. The room buzzed with low murmurs and the occasional groan of pain. Elara was quickly ushered to a makeshift bed where a woman lay, her condition more severe than the rest. She was unmistakably beautiful, even with her features contorted in pain, and her attire, though bloodied, hinted at regal origins. "Dr. Miles, thank you for coming," whispered Joran, the group's leader. "She's losing a lot of blood. We didn't know who else to trust." Elara nodded, setting her bag down with a practiced ease. "Let's see what we can do." As she began her examination, the woman's eyes fluttered open, revealing a sharp, piercing blue that contrasted starkly with her pallid complexion. Recognition dawned on Elara. This was no ordinary rebel. She was tending to Lady Seraphine, the wife of the Tyrant King himself. "Stay calm, Lady Seraphine. You are safe here," Elara murmured, keeping her voice steady despite the turmoil in her mind. Seraphine managed a weak smile. "Not the place I imagined meeting the city's best human medic," she joked weakly, coughing up blood. With precise movements, Elara worked to stabilize her patient, her hands deft and sure. As she administered blood-clotting agents and set about stitching a deep wound in Seraphine's side, her mind raced. How did the tyrant's wife end up in a rebel safe house? And more importantly, what would happen if the king found out she was here? As she worked, the room seemed to grow still, the air charged with a heavy anticipation. Suddenly, the walls shimmered faintly, something Elara attributed to her exhaustion. But the shimmering didn't cease. Instead, it grew stronger, coalescing into a faint outline of a figure near the doorway. Elara blinked, looking up from her patient. Was she seeing things, or was there someone, or something, there, cloaked in the invisibility only rumored to be wielded by the king's elite guards? "Who's there?" Elara demanded, her voice echoing slightly in the tense silence. The figure materialized from the shimmering air, a man clad in the dark, stealth gear of the king's shadow operatives. His presence sent a ripple of fear through the room, but his eyes were fixed on Seraphine, filled with an emotion that was hard to decipher. "Do not be alarmed, Dr. Miles," he said, his voice low and surprisingly calm. "I am here not to harm, but to protect." Elara tensed, her hand reaching for a scalpel, rudimentary but sharp. Yet she did not move to attack. The situation was precarious enough without adding violence into the mix. "What happens here tonight will change the course of the rebellion," the shadow operative continued, his gaze shifting between Elara and the ailing lady. "And perhaps the fate of the kingdom itself." As he spoke, a surreal sense of destiny enveloped the room. Elara realized then that the night's work would extend far beyond her medical duties. Something profound was unfolding, and somehow, she was at the heart of it. As Elara secured the last stitch, the atmosphere in the room remained tense. The shadow operative, who introduced himself only as Merrick, stood guard by the door, his eyes never straying from the regal figure on the cot. Seraphine's breathing had stabilized, but her condition was still precarious. Merrick broke the silence first. "Dr. Miles, you must understand the gravity of what has transpired." Lady Seraphine was targeted by her own allies, those within the palace who wished to see the king's downfall, even if it means sacrificing the queen. Elara paused, her hands stilling over her medical bag. "Why tell me this? Why trust a medic?" "Because," Merrick said, stepping closer, his voice dropping to a whisper, "you are now part of this, willingly or not. The Queen's survival ties you to the fate of this rebellion. They will assume you are with us, or they will fear you are against them. Either way, you are in danger. Outside, the sound of distant drones patrolled the skies, their searchlights casting eerie shadows through the broken windows. Ilara felt the weight of Marek's words. Aligning with either side was not her intention. Her oath was to save lives, regardless of allegiance. Seraphine's voice, now steadier, cut through the thick air. Marek is right. My husband, the king, has grown increasingly paranoid. He suspects me of sympathy for the rebel cause, not entirely without reason. Your aid tonight may have saved my life, but it has also entangled you in this conflict. Ilara met Seraphine's gaze, finding resolve in her own voice. Then we must ensure your recovery and safety. If you are seen as a beacon of hope, perhaps your position can help bring about change. Marek nodded, his expression softening. There is a place, a hidden facility, where the king's eyes do not reach. It's shielded, not just from surveillance, but it seems, from reality itself. We call it the Nexus. It is there that you, Lady Seraphine, must recover fully, and it is there that we can strategize safely. The mention of such a place intrigued Ilara. A facility outside the bounds of conventional reality could mean advanced technology, perhaps even beyond what she had learned in her medical training. How do we get to this nexus? She asked, her curiosity piqued despite the danger. It requires trust, Marek said, pulling a small, intricate device from his pocket. This will transport us directly there. But once we go, there's no easy return. Ilara looked from the device to Seraphine, who was now sitting up, determination etched in her features. Let's not waste time then. If this nexus is as secure as you say, it's our best chance. With a nod, Marek activated the device. A ripple of light enveloped them, the walls of the room stretching and blurring into oblivion. In moments, the dilapidated safe house was replaced by the sleek, metallic interior of the Nexus. The transition was disorienting, the air humming with a strange energy. They were greeted by a woman in a lab coat, her hair pulled back into a tight bun, her eyes bright with intelligence and caution. "Welcome to the Nexus," she said, her voice echoing slightly off the smooth walls. "I'm Dr. Celine Harrow. We've been expecting you." Dr. Harrow led them through a series of sterile, white corridors, each turn and door controlled by unseen mechanisms. "This facility is beyond the reach of the king's technology," she explained. "Here, we've harnessed energies that the outside world believes are still theoretical. Your presence here will remain hidden as long as necessary." Ilara absorbed every detail, her mind racing with possibilities. Could this place hold the key to not just healing Seraphine, but also ending the conflict that had torn their world apart? As they entered a room equipped with medical technology that bordered on the futuristic, Ilara felt a surge of professional awe. "This is incredible," she murmured, approaching a console that displayed vital information in holographic projections. "Yes," Dr. Harrow agreed, her eyes alight with a mixture of pride and seriousness. "And it's going to be your new operating base. Whether you intended it or not, Dr. Miles, you've just stepped into a much larger role than healer. Here, you'll help shape the future." Ilara glanced at Seraphine, who offered a weak but hopeful smile. Despite the uncertainty, one thing was clear. Her journey had taken a new, unexpected turn towards something much bigger than she had ever imagined. In the heart of the Nexus, Ilara quickly adapted to her new environment, her days filled with both learning and applying advanced medical techniques. The facility, powered by an enigmatic source known only as the Core, was a labyrinth of innovation and secrecy. Dr. Celine Harrow became both a mentor and a collaborator, guiding Ilara through the complexities of their technology. Seraphine's recovery was swift under Ilara's care, bolstered by the Nexus's sophisticated healing modalities. As she regained strength, her involvement in their meetings grew, her insights into the political machinations of the palace proving invaluable. One evening, as the artificial lights dimmed to simulate nightfall, Marek and Dr. Harrow convened an urgent meeting in the central hub of the Nexus, a room with walls lined with translucent screens displaying real-time data from various rebel groups. "The king has accelerated his efforts to crush the rebellion," Marek reported, his face grim as he flicked through the screens. He's deploying drones equipped with new sensing technology. They seem to be hunting for something specific, not just patrolling. Dr. Harrow adjusted her glasses, her expression concerned. He may be searching for the Nexus. It's possible he's learned of its existence, if not its location. Elara felt a chill run through her. What are our defenses against such technology? We are shielded from conventional detection, but if the king has developed something new, I need to analyze it, Dr. Harrow replied, tapping into one of the screens to enlarge a schematic of a drone. Merrick, we need a down drone, intact? Merrick nodded, already formulating a plan. I'll coordinate with our field agents. We'll have one for you within 48 hours. As the strategy session continued, Seraphine spoke up, her voice steady. There's more at stake here than just our safety. The people are suffering under my husband's tyranny. We need to think beyond just defense. We need a counteroffensive. Her words resonated with Elara, who had witnessed the casualties of the king's brutal regime firsthand. What if we could turn the king's technology against him? If we understand how these new drones work, perhaps we can replicate or manipulate their capabilities. Dr. Harrow considered this, her eyes narrowing in thought. That's ambitious, but it might just work. With a combination of the drone's technology and the core's capabilities, we could potentially develop something disruptive. The group agreed to focus on this new plan. Over the following days, Elara split her time between Seraphine's medical care and assisting Dr. Harrow with the technological aspects of their project. When Merrick returned with the captured drone, the Nexus buzzed with a cautious optimism. Under Dr. Harrow's guidance, Elara delved into the drone's internal mechanisms, fascinated by the complexity and elegance of its design. It was unlike anything she had seen, incorporating elements that interacted with the very fabric of reality. This is quantum tech, Dr. Harrow explained as they worked late into the night, her hands deftly manipulating the drone's circuitry. It doesn't just detect, it predicts. The king is trying to anticipate our moves. The revelation was startling, but it also gave them a new angle to work from. If it predicts based on certain inputs, we can feed it false data, Elara suggested, caught up in the challenge. We can create ghost signals, lead his forces astray. Dr. Harrow smiled, impressed. Exactly. And while his forces chase phantoms, we prepare a real strike. Together, they developed a prototype for a device that could emit signals indistinguishable from those the drones hunted for. It was a game of high-tech deception, one that played on the king's reliance on his own technology. As the Nexus turned its energies towards this new weapon, Elara found herself at the center of a pivotal moment. Her role had expanded from healer to key strategist in a battle that was as much about wits as it was about firepower. Each success in their experiments brought a mix of thrill and apprehension. With every advancement, the stakes grew higher. As they prepared for their first field test of the device, the weight of their endeavor hung heavily in the air. They were no longer just fighting for survival, they were fighting to turn the tide. As the Nexus buzzed with activity, the plans for deploying their new device moved swiftly. The prototype, now dubbed the Echo Unit, was designed to generate a spectrum of quantum distortions, effectively creating decoy targets for the king's advanced drones. Elara, Merrick, and Dr. Harrow oversaw the final adjustments, ensuring that every component functioned perfectly. Once we launch the Echo units, we'll need to monitor the drone's responses closely, Dr. Harrow instructed, her fingers gliding over the holographic display that showed a dynamic map of the contested areas. It's crucial that we understand their patterns of behavior. Any deviation could indicate that the king suspects a trick. Merrick, geared up for the field operation, nodded. I'll lead the deployment team. We'll scatter the Echo units across multiple sectors to maximize confusion. Elara handed him a small, metallic disc, the last of the Echo units. Be careful, Merrick. We don't know what new capabilities those drones might have. He gave a reassuring smile. I'll keep a low profile. Besides, with these out there, the drones will have their hands full. As Merrick and his team set out, Elara returned to her medical lab, where Seraphine was making steady progress. The Queen, now more involved than ever, kept herself informed of every step of their plan. This could change everything, Seraphine said, looking over Elara's shoulder at the data streaming in. If we can mislead the king's drones long enough, we could gain the upper hand. Ilara adjusted the settings on a nearby screen, displaying real-time feedback from the echo units. We're about to find out. Marek's team is deploying the first set of units now. The initial results were promising. The drones, deceived by the echo units, diverted from their patrol routes, scrambling to investigate the false signals. Each misdirected drone represented a small victory, a momentary lapse in the King's surveillance network. Back at the Nexus, Dr. Harrow compiled the data, her eyes narrowing in concentration. The drones are behaving exactly as we predicted. This is our chance to launch a broader offensive. Ilara watched as plans for a larger-scale operation began to take shape. The rebels, energized by the success of the echo units, prepared for what they hoped would be a decisive strike against the King's forces. However, amidst their preparations, an unexpected transmission intercepted their communications. The screen flickered, and the King's cold, imposing figure appeared. Lady Seraphine, Dr. Miles, and Dr. Harrow, he began, his voice icy calm. I must commend you on your ingenuity. However, you underestimate my resources. Ilara's heart raced. Had they been discovered? How had the King penetrated their secure network? The King continued, consider this a warning. Cease your actions, or face consequences far beyond your comprehension. The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving a heavy silence in the room. Dr. Harrow was the first to speak. He's bluffing. He has to be. He wouldn't reveal his awareness of us unless he was trying to scare us into submission. Seraphine stood, her resolve hardening. We cannot let fear dictate our actions. We have come too far to back down now. Ilara agreed, her mind racing through scenarios. We need to increase our precautions. It's clear he's got more than just drones at his disposal. Dr. Harrow nodded. Let's enhance our encryption, double our surveillance countermeasures. If he's watching, let's make sure he sees exactly what we want him to see. The team set to work, bolstering their defenses and refining their strategy. The echo units continued to prove effective, and the rebels began to make significant inroads into territories long dominated by the King's forces. As Ilara adjusted the parameters of the echo unit's output, she couldn't help but feel the gravity of their situation. They were on the brink of either a major breakthrough or a devastating setback. With the King aware of their actions, every move had to be calculated with precision. Yet, in the depths of the Nexus, surrounded by minds as sharp as her own, Ilara found a strange comfort. Together, they were rewriting the rules of engagement, and in doing so, they were crafting a new future, one fraught with danger but also brimming with hope. The stakes escalated as the Nexus became a hive of strategic planning and technological innovation. The team, now fully aware of the King's awareness and potential capabilities, pushed the boundaries of their technological prowess even further. Dr. Harrow, with Ilara's assistance, initiated the development of a second-generation echo unit, one that could not only deceive but also disable the King's drones. With the new echo unit, we'll incorporate an EMP feature that can temporarily disable the drones upon close proximity, Dr. Harrow explained, her eyes reflecting the schematics that floated holographically between them. It's risky because it reveals our position momentarily, but it could give our forces a critical window to advance. Ilara nodded, her mind racing through the medical implications. We'll need to enhance our field medics kits as well. If there's a skirmish, we should be prepared for both human and tech injuries. Seraphine, who had taken an active role in the coordination of rebel forces, updated the combat strategies accordingly. I'll communicate the changes. Our forces will need to be fluid, ready to move as soon as a drone is disabled. Meanwhile, Marek returned from a reconnaissance mission with crucial intelligence. The King is consolidating his forces around the capital. It looks like he's preparing for a major offensive. Our window to act is narrowing. This information galvanized the team. They accelerated their preparations, working tirelessly as the Nexus thrummed with a palpable urgency. The new echo units were rapidly assembled and tested in controlled environments mimicking the outskirts of the capital. During one of these tests, an unexpected anomaly occurred. The prototype's EMP malfunctioned, releasing a broader pulse that temporarily disrupted the Nexus's internal systems. Damn, that was too close, Dr. Harrow cursed, quickly moving to recalibrate the device. We need to tighten the pulse's range. If that happens in the field, it could end everything we've worked for. Ilara's expertise proved invaluable in fine-tuning the device's medical safety protocols, ensuring that their own equipment wouldn't be affected by the pulses. We should implement a failsafe, something that shields our gear automatically, she suggested, integrating a small biofeedback module into the design. As the revised Echo units were deployed, the rebels initiated a series of hit-and-run tactics against the king's outposts, gradually drawing his forces away from civilian areas. Each successful operation bolstered the rebels' morale, and word of their actions spread, igniting hope among the oppressed populace. Amidst the strategic victories, a deeper change was brewing within the Nexus. The team had become a close-knit unit, their diverse skills blending into a formidable force. Ilara, once solely a medic, now found herself deeply involved in tactical meetings, her insights bridging the gap between technology and human welfare. One evening, as they reviewed the latest data from the field, Seraphine looked up from the screen, her expression thoughtful. Once we've weakened his defenses, we'll need to address the governance vacuum. We can't just defeat him, we need a plan for what follows. Ilara nodded, feeling the weight of the future they were trying to shape. It's about more than just winning. It's about what kind of world we want to build. This thought lingered in the room, a sobering reminder of their responsibility beyond the immediate conflict. Plans were drafted not only for the continuing war but for peace, a comprehensive framework for reconciliation and rebuilding. As the Nexus continued its relentless pace, the king's countermeasures grew increasingly desperate, his broadcasts more frequent and menacing. However, his threats did little to deter the coalition that had formed within the Nexus. They were beyond intimidation. They were driven by a vision of liberation that was now in clear sight. The preparations for the final assault on the capital were meticulous. Every scenario was simulated, every possible outcome planned for. The rebels were no longer a scattered group of fighters. They had become a coordinated army, with the Nexus as their command center. As the day of the assault approached, Ilara checked her medical supplies, her hands steady despite the adrenaline. She wasn't just fighting for survival anymore, she was fighting for a new beginning. The challenge was immense, but so were the stakes. They were ready to change the course of their world. The night before the final assault, the Nexus was charged with a tense energy. Merrick reviewed the deployment plans with the ground teams, his voice steady, projecting confidence. Remember, timing is crucial. The Echo units need to be activated simultaneously to create a comprehensive blackout zone around the capital. This will give us the cover we need. Ilara, alongside Dr. Harrow, ensured that the Echo units were configured to their final specifications. The new version included a fail-safe protocol that would protect the rebels' technology from their own EMP blast, a crucial addition that could mean the difference between victory and catastrophe. As the teams prepared, Seraphine addressed the assembled leaders via a secure holographic transmission. Her image flickered slightly as she spoke. This isn't just about overthrowing a tyrant, it's about proving that leadership can be just, compassionate, and inclusive. Let's show them what we stand for. The assault began at dawn. The skies were overcast, heavy with the promise of rain, which played into their hands, masking some of their movements. Merrick led the first wave, moving quickly and silently. As they reached their designated positions, the Echo units were deployed, each unit cloaked and set to emit a high-frequency pulse at Marek's command. Back at the Nexus, Ilara monitored the medical channels, ready to dispatch aid to any location reports of injuries came through. The anticipation was palpable, each second stretching out as they waited for the signal that the units were active. Then, confirmation came. The Echo units worked flawlessly, casting a technological veil over the capital. The king's drones, blind and disoriented, crashed to the ground, their systems overwhelmed by the unexpected barrage of electromagnetic pulses. With the king's electronic eyes and ears disabled, the rebel forces moved in. The ground teams used the chaos to their advantage, securing key points within the city. Communications between the king's loyalists were fractured, and confusion was evident in their delayed responses. However, the king was not without his contingencies. Hidden defense mechanisms around the palace came to life, deploying automated defense turrets that used old-fashioned projectile weaponry, unaffected by the EMP. The rebels, anticipating some form of non-electronic defenses, used makeshift shields and advanced tactics to maneuver past the deadly barrage. Elara received the first call for medical assistance when a small group trying to disable a turret faced unexpected resistance. She dispatched a medic team equipped with the latest trauma kits, designed to handle both conventional and energy-based injuries. The battle for the capital was fierce and unforgiving. Every step forward was bought with bravery and strategy, each small victory a testament to the rebels' determination and the effectiveness of their planning. In the Nexus, Seraphine watched the progress with bated breath, her hands clenched. When a report came through that the rebels had secured the perimeter around the palace, a fleeting smile crossed her face. Elara, amidst coordinating medical responses, felt a surge of hope. The operation was going as planned, but the hardest part was yet to come, securing the palace and finding the king. Merrick, leading a specialized team, breached the palace gates. The inside was eerily quiet, the usual hustle of the court silenced. They moved systematically, clearing each section and advancing toward the throne room. When they finally confronted the king, he was alone, his royal guards nowhere in sight, likely disabled by the echo units along with the drones. His expression was one of defiance, but there was an undeniable trace of fear as he faced the inevitable. The king's capture was not the end, but a signal of a new beginning. As the news spread, celebrations erupted across the city and beyond, mixed with relief and the sobering realization of the reconstruction that lay ahead. In the aftermath, Elara's role shifted once more. The immediate medical emergencies gave way to long-term care and rebuilding, physical for the city and its people, and metaphorical for the society they hoped to build. Under Seraphine's leadership, they began the arduous task of forming a government that embodied the values for which they had fought so hard. As peace took root, the Nexus transformed from a command center into a beacon of innovation and healing, a place where the scars of war could slowly begin to heal. Elara, once a medic in the shadows, now stood at the forefront of a world reborn, her life forever intertwined with the fate of a nation transformed. In the weeks following the king's capture, the capital underwent rapid transformation. The once oppressive air of control gave way to an atmosphere of collaborative rebuilding. The streets, marred by battle, were now bustling with people working together to restore their city. Elara, her medical expertise more crucial than ever, spearheaded the establishment of several field hospitals, transitioning them into permanent healthcare facilities. Seraphine, officially declared the interim leader, worked tirelessly to stabilize the government. Her open councils, held in the once forbidden palace grounds, were a testament to her commitment to transparency and democracy. People from all walks of life were invited to voice their concerns and contribute to the new constitution, a document crafted to ensure that no future leader could wield unchecked power. Meanwhile, Dr. Harrow and her team at the Nexus focused on leveraging their technological advancements for peacetime purposes. The same technology that had once cloaked their military operations was now adapted to enhance energy efficiency across the city. The core, once a guarded secret, was introduced to the public as a clean and nearly limitless energy source, promising a brighter ecological future. As Elara walked through the newly established Peace Memorial Park, a green expanse created in the heart of the city to commemorate those lost in the conflict, she reflected on the profound changes. Benches were inscribed with the names of fallen rebels and civilians alike, a poignant reminder of the cost of freedom. Merrick joined her on one of these reflective walks. His role had evolved from military strategist to head of public security, a position he used to reform the security forces, integrating them with the community they were sworn to protect. The city feels different, doesn't it? Merrick mused as they paused in front of a newly installed sculpture depicting a phoenix rising from ashes, an emblem of the nation's resurgence. It does, Elara agreed. It's becoming what we fought for, a place of hope, not fear. Their conversation was interrupted by a call from Dr. Harrow, requesting their presence at the Nexus. When they arrived, they found her with a group of engineers and scientists, all gathered around a large holographic display. "We've made a breakthrough that could change everything," Dr. Harrow announced, her eyes shining with excitement. "We've found a way to use the eco technology for rapid environmental restoration. We can reclaim deserts, restore forests, even cleanse oceans. But we need government support to implement it on a global scale." Seraphine, who had been quietly observing, stepped forward. "This is exactly the kind of innovation that can redefine our legacy, from war makers to world healers. Let's present it to the Council and get the backing to move forward." The project, dubbed Regenesis, was met with enthusiasm and overwhelming support. Within months, test sites around the world showed promising results, and the technology was hailed as a revolutionary step in combating environmental degradation. Elara found herself involved in another aspect of the Nexus's capabilities, using their medical advancements to tackle global health crises. Her new initiative, Heal the World, focused on eradicating diseases that had plagued humanity for centuries, leveraging the Nexus's research to develop vaccines and treatments at an unprecedented pace. As these projects unfolded, Elara and her colleagues were invited to a global summit, where leaders from around the world convened to discuss the potential of their technologies. Elara, once a simple field medic, stood on the international stage, presenting her vision for a global healthcare revolution. The summit concluded with the establishment of the Nexus International Cooperation Initiative, NICI, a treaty that fostered technological and medical collaboration between nations. Under NICI, the Nexus served as a central hub for innovation, providing resources and knowledge to tackle the planet's most pressing issues. Through it all, Elara remained grounded by her experiences. She often visited the Peace Memorial Park, not only to honor those who had fallen but to remind herself of the fragile beauty of peace. The park, with its vibrant flora and reflective pools, was a place of solace and strength, a symbol of everything they had achieved and the enduring challenges ahead. In this new era, the Nexus stood as a beacon of hope, a testament to the power of unity and the endless possibilities of human ingenuity. As the sun set over the revitalized city, casting long shadows and bathing the park in golden light, Elara felt a deep, abiding satisfaction. The world they had fought for was blooming, and she was at its heart, healing not just bodies but the soul of a society reborn. The year following the summit marked a period of profound global transformation. Cities worldwide began to integrate Nexus technology, rejuvenating landscapes and revitalizing economies. The eco-technology, once a weapon of war, now played a pivotal role in environmental recovery, turning barren wastelands into fertile grounds. This era of healing and renewal was not without its challenges, but the international cooperation fostered by NICI helped navigate the complexities of such rapid change. In the heart of the revitalized capital, Seraphine formally inaugurated the new Democratic Assembly Hall, a stunning structure of glass and steel designed to represent the transparency and strength of their new government. It stood adjacent to the Peace Memorial Park, a daily reminder of the past's lessons and the future's promises. Here, representatives from around the nation gathered to debate, create, and implement policies that would ensure the sustainability of their democracy. Elara, attending the inauguration, felt a swell of pride as she watched Seraphine address the assembly. The Queen's words resonated deeply, echoing the collective aspiration of their people to never return to the days of tyranny. Today, we stand united, not just in our shared history, but in our common future. Let this hall be a place of wisdom, of peace, and above all, of progress, Seraphine declared, her voice carrying across the crowd. After the ceremony, Elara returned to the Nexus, which had expanded its operations to include a new division focused solely on educational outreach. This initiative, spearheaded by Dr. Harrow, aimed to disseminate the knowledge and technology developed at the Nexus to educational institutions worldwide. The goal was to inspire the next generation of innovators, ensuring the continuity of their technological and philosophical advancements. Merrick, who had played a crucial role in securing the peace, now led the Global Security Alliance, GSA, an organization created under the NICI framework to address international security concerns with diplomacy and cooperation rather than force. He worked closely with Elara, ensuring that the health and safety of populations were prioritized in every operational decision. As autumn painted the city in hues of orange and gold, Ilara organized the first Global Health Symposium, hosted in the very heart of the Democratic Assembly Hall. Health leaders and experts from around the world converged to share knowledge and strategies for combating diseases, improving global health infrastructure, and ensuring that all people had access to the medical advancements spawned by the Nexus. The symposium concluded with the signing of the Health for Humanity Accord, an agreement to share resources, knowledge, and technology in an unprecedented global health network. Ilara stood at the forefront of this initiative, her vision for a healthier world now shared by leaders and citizens alike. In the closing moments of the symposium, Ilara took a quiet walk through the Peace Memorial Park. The park was alive with the laughter of children and the gentle conversations of families enjoying the tranquility of the environment. Approaching the Phoenix sculpture, she placed her hand on the cool metal, reflecting on the journey that had brought them here. Her thoughts were interrupted by a gentle voice. "It's something, isn't it?" It was Seraphine, joining her by the sculpture. "It's more than I ever imagined," Ilara replied, her gaze sweeping over,